Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video here on my advanced FPS framework, and this one is going to be an overview of the system. So in my last video I basically did a quick showcase of me going around and shooting the targets and stuff, and this one I'm just going to show you a little bit more uh, parts of how I did the code and how I set up the system, so you guys have an overview idea of how the system works. So I'm going to have a next video which is going to be an in-depth look what each setting does and what little variable you can change does. And that one's going to take a long time, but I want that video to work kind of as a documentation for you guys, so you never get lost on what everything does. But yeah, let's get into it right now. So I want to go into my advanced FPS framework, and the way that this works is most of the settings and changes are going to be coming from weapon-specific data. So if you go into your weapons data and go into your static data, you can go into each one of your guns. Let's open up, for example, the AR-15. And if you open this up, there's going to be a long list of variables that you can edit, and basically you can change the look and feel of your weapon through all of these settings. So for example, you can change what ammo it uses, your base damage, you can have a damage fall off curve, you can change your recoil curve and multipliers, you can set up your different fire rates and modes, and you can also change some of the player related stats based on the weapon you have equipped. So for example, you can make a weapon more stiff or more or quicker. You can change your sway speed, even your crouch speed. It's really up to you. Now, these default settings are the ones that I think work best in normal weapons, so like assault rifles and stuff like that. But if you have like a machine gun or an RPG, you might want to tweak these settings to make the weapon feel heavier. You also have a small system for attachments. This is just something that spawns when you equip a weapon. For example, the AR-15 model I used did not have iron sights. It just had the straight up grip, like the barrel itself. So I wanted to add iron sights mesh on top of it, and I created a quick system where you can add any attachments to weapon sockets. Now, in future videos, in future updates for the system, I'm going to have more dynamic attachments that actually have functionality, like a flashlight or a laser or an actual scope sights for a sniper. These ones are really basic and just support static meshes, but there's going to be better for the future. Then over here, there's going to be the basic animation stuff you need for each gun. So the basic poses for your arms and weapons, and then your montages for the keyframe reloads. Everything else that you don't see here is done procedurally using timelines and curves. And you can see over here that you can change the overall offset of your arms. But then you have, for each type of animation, you have access to the location of those frames and the rotation as well, and it's going to drive directly from curves. So let's open, for example, the sprint location or the rotation, wherever you want, and you can see that I have my curves over here. Now you can change these curves. Now it requires a little bit of animation basics and understanding, but in the next video that I said I was going to do in depth, I'm going to give you a basic overview on how you can edit these curves to change the animation of your weapons. It's not that hard after you understand the real basics, because most of these curves already have the heavy lifting of animation basics for you, and all you have to do now is pick up specific frames, move them a little bit to change the animation itself, because everything else is kind of already set up for you. Yeah, and that's it. So you can really change the locomotion, so idle, walk, and sprint, weapon related stuff like the shooting, equipping and unequipping. You have the crouching stuff, and you also have throughout these animations also multipliers for the speed of the animations and stuff for the jumping as well. And then over here you have your visual effects. So this is particle related stuff. So you have your muzzle flashes, your barrel smoke, your shell ejections, etc. And they're all based on sockets in your weapon. And you can also change some of the settings here for the smoke. Then you have your sounds. In this case, the only thing that is specific to the weapon is the shot sound, and you can see a quick preview, obviously. But then inside this meta sound, you're going to be able to change how the sound actually works, and the WAV player it's going to have a bunch of settings there. Now in the next video, as I said, the in-depth video, I'm going to show you how you can edit your sounds as well, so stay tuned for that. You also have access to your camera animations. So this is all done in engine, and you can double click this open and change the animation if you want. But I have stuff for the equipping and unequipping, the jumping, and most importantly for me, the shooting. This heavily defines the feeling of the weapon and how heavy it feels when it fires. So keep an eye out here. You can also change using the same animation, multiple settings. So you can make it fire quicker or scale higher, so make it feel more intense or less intense, and a bunch of settings that you can change here. And then you also have the weapon collision, so you're gonna have to get the length of the collision, the width, and the speed. So this also affects how the weapon feels when you're close by to geometry, so the weapon doesn't go inside the walls and everything like that. Now you can see all of this in action in the showcase, but I'm just showing you how it works behind the scenes. Yeah, most of the settings are going to come from here, but there's also some important stuff that I need to show you. Is, for example, the weapon anim BP here. For example, it's just an animation blueprint based on the gun, and if I open it up, well, maybe this one is not the best example. Let me choose the Brit M9 because that's the one where I did more work. Is that, for example, over here I did some of the modifying of bones to make the empty reload. So I'm procedurally pulling the slide back when the weapon runs out of ammo. That's not animation keyframe driven. It's just me doing this kind of change in code. Again, in the next video, I'm going to show you how to do this and how I achieve this. So you can do that to any part of any gun that you might want to add in the future. Another thing that is important to say is the reload animations also have in them the sound effects and the screen shakes for specific of those animations. So if I, for example, go into my weapon reload, and all of these settings are normally going to be in the reload base. So if you double click that, actually this one I did in the arms. So it's going to be this one. You can see I'm using notifies to drive sounds, camera animations, everything like that. So it perfectly matches the motion of the animation. And you can obviously move these things around. You can choose different sounds. You can change the camera animation and everything like that. So this is a custom notify I created, and it basically works as the camera animations in the weapon itself. And last but not least, there's the specific player stats. So if I go into blueprints, the bulk of the code is going to be in the player controller. And let me close all this stuff. So if I go into the event graph, you can see over here, all of the code is as clean as I could make it, because there's some parts, there's a lot of complex code. I have a lot of function, a lot of collapse code, and I just tried to comment and make everything as clean as possible so you guys can understand what the hell is happening. But you also have the most important stuff exposed to blueprint, so you don't have to go into the code over here in the settings. So you can see there's a bunch of stuff you can change, specifically the sound volumes for specific actions. But then also, for example, the weapon slots that you start with. Like I start with the Brit and the R15, the current M1 max ammo you can have, how many slots can you have, the crouch height, character speed, leaning stuff, your interaction distance, and also some cosmetic stuff like the depth of field here that you can disable, as well as the movement screen shake intensity. This is for people who have motion sickness. You can just tune the screen shakes down for the movement. And yeah, you can see that there's a bunch of settings here. There's probably small stuff that you can go into the code and tweak, but most of the important stuff you can change here in the settings. And yeah, I think that's going to be it for the overview. As I said already multiple times, I'm going to do an in-depth video next, which is going to be very long, but I'm going to show what every single variable here does in specific and how you can change it. I'm probably going to go over what you need to have to bring in a new weapon. So if you want a separate weapon to bring in, what are the things that you need in terms of mesh and keyframed animations, and then overall how you can change everything about the system. So stay tuned for that. You can probably find all of those links in the Fab product description. There's going to be all the links to all of the videos there. And also, if you need customized support from me, you can check out the support Discord there, and I'm be more than happy to help you. So that's going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.